What it is, y'all, it is your old boy Pilk, and I'm coming back at you today with more Danmachi. Now, today we're going to be talking about Familia Royale Enemy number 3. Interestingly enough, this is take number 3, because, well, my computer seems to hate me this morning. So let's go ahead and give this another try. Let's talk about what this enemy does, and let's go ahead and do a quick run to see what kind of skills we want to build for this. Now, I'm going to warn you, my team is a bit janky. It is definitely not ready for max damage or anything. It is not putting out the kind of damage that we would definitely want to see on a run like this, but we're going to go ahead and give it a shot anyway. Now, Apollo. Apollo Joker. This is the big Apollo statue. Material Killer is effective, so you do want Material Killers on your team. Non-element physical attack and wind physical attack is basically what he's going to attack you with. Wind coats would be a good option on this if you really want to remove some of that extra damage. Enemy skills increase increased strength. He will also notice increased strength and magic. It says cure ailment, but I think that's a bad translation. Ailment rarely works on an enemy like this, and I've not tried it. You can. I don't recommend it. The one thing I do know he does there is he removes all of his own debuffs. So I think that's what they meant by cure ailment. It actually isn't an ailment cure. It's actually a debuff removal. So if you're trying to stun him, yeah, probably ain't going to be terribly effective. I'm just warning you right now. He will also decrease our strength and magic. So he'll debuff our strength and magic. And he has a big SA that damages us based on the amount of HP we have. So in other words, the more HP your unit has, the bigger the hit. And I'm warning you right now, prepare for that. Because when it hits, if you are not ready for it, in other words, if you haven't debuffed him again, it's going to hurt bad. Very bad. Enemy resistances, wind, water, and light are all up 30%, so don't use those teams. Earth, thunder, and dark are all neutral, and fire resistance is at -40. So really, you want to use a fire team. And notice, physical is up 30, and magic is neutral. So you want to use a fire magic team. That's really kind of your best team here. It says, take this on with a party that excels in magic and fire. Remove your opponent's strength buffs and keep up the offensive with steamy Amazon Tiona. To take advantage of the new Aisha's skills, I'm not going to try to read that, increase fire damage and remove magic debuffs from all your allies. If your opponent removes ailments, once again, it's debuffs, attack using Tiona to lower their magic and fire resistance. It keeps saying ailments. I think that's a bad translation. Once again, though, these are translated in Japan before they come over here, so cut them a little tiny slack. They really, really, really need a better translator, I'm just going to say. That's not terrible, honestly. Just pretty important wording right there, and they did kind of, not do it well. So let's go ahead and run in here and do a quick run of Boss 3. Now, like I said before, I'm going to warn you, my team is really not the best. They're not really fit for this match, but they are in a way. So we're going to go ahead and run in here. It's more important what he does. We're going to pay attention to each turn and notate what he does so you guys can be more effective at this. So if you're trying to replicate my team, you're not going to get top scores for your Familia. Just saying that right now. Be cautious. All right. So turn 1, we're going to go ahead and have to debuff because he's just going to kind of come out of the gate with some stuff. Now, you could probably survive 3 turns if your team is fully maxed limit broken. You could survive 3 turns without the debuff. I generally don't try it right out of the gate, but it is something you could attempt. So I'm going to go ahead and do Akane here. I'm going to use the Fire Wealth to go ahead and increase our SA gauge charge and give everybody else a little bit more damage. I'm going to go ahead and do our main buff stacks with these 2 units. You will notice I'm skipping the debuff stage with Fire of Area because we're going to debuff on turn 2. Alright. So, he did increase his strength on that attack, so I could technically use her skill 2 here, but notice that he did debuff us. Now, I am going to warn you right now, he's going to debuff us fairly often. So, for me, I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to come out of the gate with skill 2. Actually, I take that back. I've got to do skill 3 because I've got to get the debuffs out. Now, you will notice that I am using the physical Elise to debuff fire 40%. How effective that is up for debate, but actually it's not up for debate. It's not the right move at all, but it's what I built this team to do. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We're going to debuff on this turn. Preferably, you could have debuffed last turn, and then basically be ready for all this. In fact, if I had used Riveria's debuff, I could have actually attacked with her on this turn. Now notice he did another SA on that turn, and it missed. So when that SA hits, that actually is what's going to debuff you. So if you're lucky, that attack, the little miss alarm thing he does there, won't actually hit you. If it misses you, then you're not debuffed, and that's going to be kind of nice. But if it hits you, then you're kind of in a world of hurt. Now, I'm going to bring in the Fire Elise, or say the Magic Elise. They're both fire. Magic Elise, and I'm going to start her buff stack. I'm going to go and do Sheikah on this turn. His strength is still buffed, but he's actually going to buff strength and magic here shortly, so you know what? I'm going to go ahead and on this turn and take advantage and just go ahead and do skill 2 to try to get some early damage out. Basically, from this point on, Riveria is going to keep spamming skill 3 because that's her best hit, and we're going to work on the buff stack with her. But for now, this is what we're going to do. Now, Tiona's skill is a slower skill, so notice that all the other buffs are pretty much going to come in and do their thing first. Her hit wasn't amazing by any stretch. She could do a lot better, but remember, she's also debuffed, so yeah, it's the thing. Now, he's actually done a Strength and Magic buff, and here's the thing. I know at the end of this turn, with that Strength and Magic buff in play, he's getting ready to do an SA. Also notice that when he does that little attack, that buff Strength and Magic, remember I said, that is going to remove debuffs, so we've got to go ahead and redo our debuffs. Pretty important, that. So instead of doing her Crimson Gush, I'm actually going to go ahead and do the debuffs here so that we can get a little bit more damage out when we SA. There is some question as to whether that's the correct move. I've got to basically do a few more turns and do a few more assessments of this, but it is how we're going to get a little bit more damage. All right, so the Strength and Magic buff will be in play on turn 5. But we're going to take a little bit of extra damage because I didn't remove it. So if you're going for more of a defensive maneuver there, you definitely probably want to remove that on that turn. I chose not to because I knew I could tank it pretty well. But then on this turn, I can actually do her SA and hit him where it counts. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do Crimson Gush one more time because I'm going to work towards something here. All right. So we're going to continue her buff stack and once again spamming skill 3. So we're going to do her skill 2. This is going to give her 240% buff. 1.3 mil. 1.3 mil with an attack. Okay, so that missed. That's perfect. So since that missed, notice we are not debuffed. So remember that little miss alarm I said, when that hits you, when that hits you, 3D. When that hits you, you're going to be debuffed. Now, it missing is a great asset. That means we're actually going to be waiting for his next big Strength and Magic buff, and then we're going to be SAing. So, excellent move there. Love that. I'm going to have to rebuff with Elise, and we're going to go ahead and do Trailblazer once again with her, with Tiona. Okay. Don't hit! Damn it. Now, it did 0 damage, but we are still debuffed. So, even if it does 0 damage, you're still debuffed, which sucks. Now, I believe next turn, if I recollect, he is actually going to go ahead and do a Strength and Magic buff, which is truly unfortunate because now I'm debuffed. If you have Aisha on your team, you can remove that this turn and then SA next turn. But for now, we're just going to kind of continue on with all of our skill 3 attacks. And that's just going to be that. Aisha would be a great asset. I have not maxed mine out, but if you have her, you can see how she's going to be really awesome for this team. Now, notice he just removed all of his debuffs again, so we've got to do Akane. And we've got to do Trailblazer. If you have another unit that actually does debuffs, in fact, Riveria does debuffs, and it's only 5% less, I could technically do those. In fact, let's just see what happens here. So let's do her debuff, and then let's do Crimson Gash and see what happens. But actually, I want to get a big SA out. So instead, I'm going to do Trailblazer this turn and keep doing her skill 3. And then I'm going to work towards a triple SA next turn. Why am I going to do that? because I'm crazy. I don't know, but I'm going to work towards a triple SA. Now, like I said, whenever he buffs Strength and Magic, you're getting ready for this attack. So hopefully you've got full health and you can tank it. If you can't tank it, life's going to suck. So do consider whenever he buffs the Strength and Magic, getting rid of that buff. For me, I'm not losing sleep because on this turn, I'm going to go ahead and do triple SA with these 3. Now, why am I not doing Magic Lise? Well, simply put, Magic Lise is an AoE attack, so it's not the best thing to do here. You want your single target attacks. The exception to that would be Aisha. If you know what her SA does, you know why that is. 4.6. I expected way more out of that. A lot more out of that. But to be fair, to be completely fair, we are debuffed. So, yeah. And also notice she did twice what Magic Reveria does. And Magic Reveria is no slouch. So while I'm sitting here like, oh man, it was the better part of 5 million. It's so awful. It's just because I know she could do a lot more than that. Alright. His strength buff is back. And our debuffs are back. Of course. Of course. So I'm going to go ahead and do Yasuga on this turn. We're going to go ahead and just try to finish this up. I'm going to do Crimson Gash to get a little bit of extra damage out. It really sucks. I really do wish that we weren't debuffed so I could take a little more advantage. I mean, he would have been done by now. Long ago. So just take note of how often he's doing that attack to know how often you need to debuff. It's just a thing, guys. It's just life. It's how this works. So, he's got no buff, so I'm going to go back to using Trailblazer with her. Hot Steak actually ran out, so I should debuff that, but I'm not going to because we're almost done here. Alright, so we got a Strength buff. And Strength and Magic buff. Notice, and to turn 11, once again, all our debuffs are gone, so we've got to go ahead and re-debuff. I am going to do Blazing Soul on this turn, and I'm going to go ahead and do Akane, because I'm going to do Crimson Gash, see how much damage we can get out of Crimson Gash with these debuffs. Let's see, this could be a waste, this could be a bad maneuver. Not quite a million. Now the nice part is, I did remove his debuffs, but if had I done the SA instead, we would have killed him. So, you know, don't make my mistake. Do note that that would have been his final maneuver, and he'd have been dead. So, that's where it's the end. So basically, just be aware that whenever Strength and Magic are buffed, if you want to know basically how I knew that, under his basically under his sprite there were little icons. You'll see that there was an S and an M that had a blue arrow going up. That's not noting his preference. That's literally just saying that, though knowing it probably is. That's just saying that his Strength and Magic are buffed. You just see the one that have the red arrows going down. That's the debuff that I put on him. Same thing that he applied to my units. So do note how effective debuff removal would be for your team. If you have Aisha, great. If you don't, well, consider adding her to your team. But for now, that's going to be the video. Let me know what you guys thought in the comments section down below. Like, comment, share. I'll be back at you guys with more Danmachi very soon.